Hi guys, and welcome back to this beautiful summer day that we are having here today. Today I want to take a look at the new How to Train Your Dragon movie and how it compares to the books that it is actually based on. See how they differ from each other, what is same, what is different. And because I did find that they are actually quite different and different to the point where you could think to yourself, well, why was there actually a movie and originally the animation movie produced based on this original book series if they are so different? So that's what we are going to look at today. So I recently went and saw the new IRL movie that they made based on the original animation of How to Train Your Dragon. I believe originally I only saw the first two animated movies. I didn't watch the ones after that, but I always loved the original movie, the first one. So I wanted to see what this IRL movie is now. And I absolutely loved it. I mean, the CGI was great. I think the actors were perfectly selected for that movie. I think the story was wonderfully done, same as in the original movie as well with the animation. And one thing that surprised me the most about this new movie actually is how close it was in story, in cinematography to the originally animated movie. Like I saw some comparisons between the old animation and the new IRL movie that are picture perfect from the old version copy to the new version basically. So they were very true to the original adaptation that they did. And it made me wonder because I did find out only very late that this whole universe, this whole world, this whole story of How to Train Your Dragon actually is based on a series of books. So it did make me wonder, well, how close is it actually to the books then, if they made sure to keep the two movies so close to each other? So we are going to talk about this in different sections. I separated this into the genre or the style, the feeling of the material, then the story itself, and then lastly the characters and the world building. So if we start with the genre itself, so I feel there's a big difference here. So while the movies, the animation or the real life adaptation, they are still, basically made for children, for kids, but they are very, very much enjoyable for young adults. They're also enjoyable for adults. I enjoyed it very much myself. I think the story is wonderfully told and it's not too childish as such for me to go to the cinema and to see this kind of movie. For the books, however, after seeing this movie, I went back. I listened to the books actually on Audible. I think the production is great that they have on Audible. But the thing is that the books, the target audience is for much younger children, not even for young adults, but it's really, really targeted at young children. I believe the author originally intended to write the books for her kids, if I remember that correctly, and then it just, kind of kept expounding and publishing the books and so on. Also, disclaimer here, I only read the first two books because after that it just felt like I had to force myself to continue on reading because the story was not that interesting or challenging. It was really actually a very aimed at children. It's full through and through a kid story, a children's story aimed at children, targeted at children. So I think that's the big difference here in type of how the story feels, how the style of the storytelling is, and the genre of the book towards the movie. That's the big difference here, I feel. And I guess it makes sense that they made that change for the movies to also make it enjoyable for a bit of an older audience, to capture just a larger audience rather than only aiming it at children. As we see with like a lot of DreamWorks animation, Pixar animation, usually adults quite enjoy watching those as well. So now, however, let's talk about the big part here, which is the story and how much it differs from the books to the movies. And I noted down some topics on here that I want to talk about. So first of all, it's almost completely a whole other different story. Like if there weren't the same character names and settings, you wouldn't even recognize that this is, based on the original How to Train Your Dragon books. The movie is so different from anything that was written down in the books that it's just completely something else. It has almost nothing to do with each other. So basically, as you guys know, I would assume the movie tells the story of the young Viking Hiccup, who is befriending a unique rare dragon, and then, you know, kind of saving the day with his groups of friends and showing the adults that, you know, they can be friends, the dragons, and you can live alongside with them, and you can make a better life living with them than, you know, fighting to the death against them. That's basically what the story of the first How to Train Your Dragon is about. Now, let's talk about the book. What is the first book about? So the first book basically tells the story of useless Viking Hiccup, who is trying to survive dragon training as not to bring too much humiliation to his father, because he is the heir to the kind of Viking clan as well in the books. And after, you know, he miserably fails with his friends at the Viking training, basically what happens is he and his friends get expelled from the Viking clan. He is then called back to kind of save the day because he is the only one that actually can talk to dragons because he learned Dragonese. And he is then together with his group of friends, or not really friends, fighting against these two humongous mountainous dragons that are trying to kill everybody on Berk and destroy the village. So that is the story of the books. And he is doing that also with a dragon called Toothless. But we are talking about the character just in a little bit. This Toothless is very different than the Toothless in the movies. So in the movie, basically what you can see, you know, with the Vikings and dragons, they basically go from being adversaries to being friends at the end of the movie. In the books, on the other hand, the dragons kind of, like what I thought about reading the book, is basically Pokemon. The dragons kind of feel like wild Pokemon that you need to teach, that you need to train. That's why it's actually called How to Train Your Dragon. And there's basically two ways on how to train your dragon. Way number one, which every Viking except Hiccup is using, is shout at your dragon as loud as you can. And way number two, the one that Hiccup is using, basically is actually talk to them in Dragonese. So that's basically what the book is about. It's kind of like catching a Pokemon, a dragon, training them, and then having these adventures with them. The kind of behavior between Vikings and dragons and that kind of friendship and relationship is very different from the books to the movies. So let's talk about the one thing that is actually very similar from books and movies, which are the characters and the world building. So the world, everything is basically taken straight from the books. So this world of Berk with the dragons, them living in this kind of unforgiving landscape that they need to survive, that is very harsh weather conditions. They are this kind of Viking clan. There's also other Viking clans. There is basically Hiccup. There is his father, who is the like the leader of the clan. So Hiccup, same as in the movies, he is very self-conscious about not being sufficient to take over the position as leader of the clan, but he is also very disinterested in it in the books. He doesn't care at all if he's gonna be the leader or not. So the world is pretty much the same, and same as the world, most of the characters are like directly taken from the books. So the names are mostly the same. Their character traits, how they are, how they behave is very similar in the books to the movies. That's taken straight out of the books as well. With a notable exception, which is basically Astrid. So Astrid does not exist in the books. In the first book, she does not exist at all. She shows up in later books, but with a different name, which is Kamikaze. it's written a little bit different than like the Japanese, those fighter pilots from World War II, kamikaze fighter pilots. But it sounds exactly the same when you pronounce it. And I believe I read that's one of the main reasons why they changed it for the movies, as to not, kind of spark that controversy. So she's been changed to Astrid. What's also been changed into the movies is that there is this, love interest ongoing between Hiccup and Astrid that doesn't show up at all between Hiccup and Kamikaze in the books either. But I believe other than she, basically most of the other characters are very similar from book to movie. One big difference with Hiccup is, as I mentioned before, he can actually talk to dragons in the book, and they are talking back to him with a very weird, childlike. They don't speak proper full sentences, and their behavior is basically like annoying little children. That's how I feel about the dragons in the books. I don't like them at all. So I think that's the big difference with Hiccup. There's another big difference with one of the characters, which is Toothless himself, the dragon. So in the movies, he is like this unique, mystic kind of dragon that nobody ever saw. And then he's been found by Hiccup. He also has this kind of deformity because he's been shot down by Hiccup, and he kind of builds up his wing, and they start to learn to fly together, and all this kind of bonding and relationship building. Like, none of this happens in the books. It doesn't exist at all. And the dragon that Hiccup gets in the books is basically the most typical. I don't even remember the breed, but it's the most typical and usual dragon that you can get in the world. And then at that, it's the smallest anybody has ever seen, and it has no teeth, which usually these types of dragon would have teeth. So that's why he's called Toothless actually in the books, because he is toothless, and he is useless as well. So the dragons complete different from book to movies. And I can understand it. You want to make some of these changes. I understand that they had to add some more action to the story, and they had to kind of make Hiccup more of the chosen one. That's why he has this unique and rare dragon in the movie, I guess, and also the relationship between the two of them. I also do understand, I guess, why they didn't have the dragons talk back, because that would feel super weird. It makes me kind of feel like, remember from when they did the thing with the Maze Runner thing, right? Where the two main characters in the books, they would have this telepathic connection to talk to each other. They left it out from the movies because they didn't know how to handle it. So that's kind of how I feel with the dragon speaking back to the Vikings here. So I do understand some of the changes, but nevertheless, it leaves me with the question, with the story being changed so much from the book to the movies, why was there even an adaptation done and not just like an original story being told? I really don't understand that, and please do let me know in the comments below if you know more about the kind of original adaptation, how that went, why it went the way it did. I do wonder a lot about it, but to be quite frank, I like the story in the movies much more than the story in the book, which is very unusual for me. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. But yeah, guys, first of all, what did you think about How to Train Your Dragon, the two movies? Which one did you like better? What did you think about the books, if you ever read them or listened to them? And what do you make of this situation that we have these kind of movies that are so amazing, but they have nothing to do basically with the original story that they are based on, that they are adapted from? Yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.